Okay, we're going to use Photoshop and Illustrator today to create some three-dimensional text, and we're going to use our last name today. So I'm just going to open up a new Photoshop file, and I'm going to make it 750 pixels by 550 pixels, 72 pixels per inch, RGB, 8-bit, all that's good. White background is fine. Go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and go to View Fit on Screen. Now, what I want to do is create a black background, so I'm going to use my Paint Bucket tool right here, and I'm just going to use black as my background. Make sure that black is on top here, and just click to create a new background. And then I'm also going to create a gradient, so I'm just going to click and hold down the Paint Bucket and go to my Gradient tool. And I'm going to select Radial Gradient, which is the second one here. I'll make a circular style gradient. And I'm going to choose a different kind of gradient than black to white. So I'm just going to click here. And instead of black to white, I'm going to double click this little paint bucket here. And I'm going to choose a kind of dark blue. Somewhere around here. I'm using 00689E. So you can just type that in. You'll use the same color as me. Click OK. And click OK. And I'm going to go into the middle of my picture here, and I'm going to go actually a little bit higher up. I'm going to click and drag a line going outside of the picture like this. Actually, let's go back to our gradient. We want to make this white on the other, or sorry, this white color to be black. So make it from blue to black. Click OK. Let's do the same thing. There we go. So we want a blue to black on the outside here. Alright, so that's where our background for our picture. Let's go to Illustrator, and I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm just going to make a 750 by 550 document here as well. It's already filled in, but you can just change the width to 750 and the height to 550. Click OK. And I'm going to click my stroke here and turn it off. And I'm going to click on my foreground color, fill color, and I'm going to choose black. And click OK. And I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, which is right here. You can hit M on the keyboard too. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle over the top of this document so it's black. After I've drawn my rectangle, I'm going to go to my layers, and on layer 1, and if you can't find this layer here, just go to Window and select Layers. And I'm going to lock this layer here, and then I'm going to make a new layer, and the reason I'm locking that layer is because I just want this black to contrast the letters I'm about to create. So I'm not going to mess with this layer anymore, I'm just going to mess with layer 2. So I'm going to put these layers away again. And I'm going to use my text tool, and I'm going to choose the color for my text to be white. So I just chose my swatches and I just clicked white here. And I'm going to choose character up here. And for my character, I'm just going to choose Arial Rounded MT Bold, or Arial. I think you'll have this one, so go ahead and choose that. And I'm going to make the size of this 200. And make sure it's white. If it's not white, you can highlight it and choose character color right here and make sure that it's chosen for white, and there we go. So there's our first letter. That's the first letter of my name anyway. And I just made it lowercase, and that's fine. So what we're going to do with this letter is we're going to go up to Effect, but make sure it's selected first. Don't go to Effect until it's got this box around it. If it looks like this, don't go to Effect. Click on the letter with your selection tool, make sure there's a box around it, and then go to Effect, 3D, and then go to Extrude and Bevel. And I'm going to move this box to the side so I can see my letter, and I'm going to just hit Preview right here. And as you can see, we have this it extruded it for us. It made it into a 3D shape for us. And I'm going to change a few things. First of all, the bevel, it says none. I'm going to choose the classic bevel right here. And that's going to give it kind of this little, well, bevel. And I can also grab this cube and I can change the way that the letter faces how it's turned. So if I turn it like this, it's sideways. If I turn it like this, it's like that. And so I'm just going to manipulate this until it's where I like it. And I think about right there. -13, -25, and 17 is where I ended up here. So go ahead and choose OK. I'm actually going to double click this and highlight it, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to choose 250 for my size. There we go. Okay, so here's the first letter of my name, and I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. And you can do this by either making all the letters of your name first, or you can bring them in individually one by one. I'm actually going to create all the letters first, so I'm just going to make the next letter of my name. So I'm going to click my text tool, and I'm not going to go next to my letter. I'm just going to make it off to the side here somewhere. I'm going to click, and it automatically switched the color to black. So I'm just going to hit U for my next letter, highlight it, and choose white so that it'll show up here. Alright, so I'm going to use my selection tool, so click that, make sure that this has a box around it, and I'm going to go to Effect, 3D, Extrude and Bevel, and I'm going to go to Preview, and there's the U, and I'm going to change this bevel to Classic again. I want them all to be the same, and I'm going to move this U so that it's facing the other direction, like that. I'm kind of facing it in the opposite direction. So my values here are 10, 25, and -8. So go ahead and use something close to that or that. That would be great. Click OK. And here's our next letter. Alright, now I'm going to make my third letter of my name. So I'm going to click. Remember, it turned to black. It always does that. So type your letter, highlight it, change it back to white. And then we're going to use our selection tool and go to Effect and 3D Extrude and Bevel. We're going to choose Classic, turn the preview on, and I'm going to move this up like this. Like that. So my numbers are 5, -26, and 8. You can use the same ones for you. What I'm basically doing is every other one I'm facing them the opposite direction, but making them not perfectly the same. So the R is not going to be exactly like the C, but it's going to have similar characteristics. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and then I'm going to use my text tool again, and I'm going to make the next letter of my name. So T, highlight it, change it to white, use your selection tool, go to Effect, 3D, Extrude and Bevel, and turn the preview on, change this to Classic, and let's see, the R is that way, so we want to face this the other way. So I'm going to grab this by the side here, move it in, and I'm going to tip it down actually a little bit. So my numbers are -42, 20, and -6. I'm going to grab my text tool, click, type the next letter of my name, highlight it, change it to white, select my selection tool, and go to Effect, 3D. I'm going to turn the preview on, change this to Classic. Let's see. I'm going to move this There we go. 7, -6, -18 is what I have. And my last letter, S, highlight it, change it to white, hit my selection tool. I'm actually going to move this over a little bit. And I'm going to go to my Effect, 3D, Extrude, and Bevel. Turn my preview on, Classic, and we're going to end this one going up a ways. There we go. 24, 27, and -1. Alright, so now we're going to bring these into Photoshop. So I'm just going to select the C here, and I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. Then I'm going to go to Photoshop. And I'm going to go to Edit, Paste. And there's a few options here when you paste it. It's going to ask you if you want to do it as a smart object as the default, but we're going to do it as pixels. So go ahead and click OK. There's our first letter, and it's got this box around it because it wants to know if you want to resize it or whatever. We don't. Well, I'm just going to keep it like it is, and I'm going to hit Enter because I like the way that it is. And I'm going to use my Move tool, and I'm going to move this up to the top of my screen almost, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my navigator and choose 100% zoom because I don't want it to look all grainy. Alright, so here's the first letter of the name, and I'm actually going to rename the letter to C because I want to remember that that's my C layer. Okay, I'm going to go back to Illustrator and I'm going to click on the next letter, and I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. You can also push Control-C on the keyboard, and I'm going to do that from now on. And I'm going to go to Photoshop, and I'm going to go to Edit, Paste, and you can push Control-V to paste, and I'm going to do that from now on as well. Make sure Pixels is selected, and I'm going to move this right there, hit Enter, and I'm going to keep doing that. Go to the R, Control-C, go back to Photoshop, Control-V, Pixels, okay. And I'm going to go back to Illustrator, hit the T, Control-C it, copy it, go back to Photoshop, paste it in, hit Enter, and back to Illustrator, the I, copy it, Photoshop, paste that in, Enter, and I'm going to go to my, last letter, and I'm going to paste that in. Alright, I'm going to name all my letters. So this letter right here is my U. I can turn the eyeball on and off and see that it's the U, so I'll rename that U. And the rest of them should be exactly as they are. This will be the R, this will be the T, this will be the I, and this will be the S. So here's all my letters. So now I'm going to situate them the way I want. So my U is on top of the C, and I actually want that to be below. So I'm actually going to drag the U below my C layer, and now the U is behind the C. And I'm also going to move it so that it is kind of off to the side here, like that. And then I'm going to take the R, and place it over the U like so, so there's enough gap between these. And I'm going to take the T, so go to my T layer, put this on top like that, the I, and the S. Okay, now these are kind of scrunched up, so I can actually spread these out a little bit. I'm going to move them down and spread them a little out so that they're not right next to each other. At first you want to put them next to each other, but after a while, or if you have space, you want to spread them out.